What ho everybody, and Merry Christmas to you all. For this week's blog, Chad, I thought I'd do something a little different because, as you know, I'm quite heavily working on the mine tunnel micro layout in the Mosslander shelf, and to make the mine IMCO loader is giving me a little bit of grief. I was very preoccupied with trying to get it to work, and it's not that easy. So what I thought I'd do is I would take you through the thought process of what I have been doing to get this project moving. And it's involved looking at a lot of old models, because when I'm finished with the layout, I generally destroy it. But I do keep bits and pieces, bits on the layout, buildings, locomotives, wagons, what have you. And they're things that I'm proud of, and they're things that are like, they've showcased a new technique, a new ability, and some particular problem-solving attitude. And so I keep all these things. I keep them all the way in a box. And when I'm struggling with something, now I will pull some of these things out and take a look at them and realize that, hey, I can do this. It's some are good, some are crude, some are very crude, but they all represent a time in my modeling when I took a leap forward. Some of these things I've done better since, but these models are the first time that I did this. And so I look at these things, and they give me the confidence to move on. And that's how it is with the IMCO loader right now. So I'm doing first up, Bedford JY. I built this in GN15 more years ago than I care to remember now. So I don't think wasn't the first locomotive that I ever scratch built. There was a Katie and an Effie, Sir Arthur Hayward's designs before that. But this is one of the first. This is the first scratch built locomotive that I think resonated with other people as well. It's one of the items that really made the pure spring watercress layout, and so I'm always going to have a soft spot for this. And there was things I learnt doing this. I mean, there are the springs there on the underframe, and they were just like wire bent around a thin piece of rod and just glued in place there, and they just look the part. That's exactly how they should be. And so yeah, this one I'm always going to feel good about. Now, this doesn't look too clever. This is a really primitive kind of like O scale model of one of the Eastleigh Works shunters that I cobbled up to fit on one of the Atlas Roco Plymouth switcher chassis. So the shape of the bonnet and the detail in the cab has had to be compromised somewhat. But the thing that I'm really pleased about with this is these W irons. I scratch built W irons. Still sounds amazing when I say this to myself. I just took pieces of styrene strip that was the right size and followed details on a wagon underframe, and then made the springs with the same, with some really thin strips of styrene strip, and then the axle box itself. It's all just shapes of styrene, and the problem solving was the interesting thing to do, to work out how to cut what pieces to what shape, and how to add other shapes to other shapes to get the right sort of overall effect. And so I'm always going to be really proud of the fact that I scratch built W irons. I mean, I actually scratch built 4 of them, so some are better than others, but I did build scratch built W irons. Of course, I have to have something from my T-scale days. This is the Shell petrol station that I made, and working so small with this, you just have to suggest things, and maybe you just got to like push yourself to the limit, and working with tweezers and magnifiers, and just breaking things down into their simplest shapes at times. No great detail involved, though I was particularly silly here and added hoses to the petrol pumps just to see if I could. So the hoses there are basically just black painted wire, just bent to shape and put in the right sort of position. So yeah, I'm always going to be proud of my T-scale work, and this is probably the piece that I'm proudest of. This is the hopper from one of the hoppers from my Greymont limestone micro that I made. Ooh, gosh, what's this layout? About 10 years old now. And this hopper was just like, they just looked at pictures of the real thing and just basically guesstimated what everything would be in relation to each other. So I mean, it's not an exact scale model, but my gosh, the things I did here to get this to work. I mean, I can't remember everything right now. I mean, I know this was the first time that I bent handrail, the circular handrail at the top. That was the first time that I heat bent anything around a former. You know, I boiled a kettle of water. I taped the handrail to a small shot glass, I think, and I just poured boiling water into the shot glass, and that softened the plastic and bent that to the right shape. And so it's a technique I've used several times now, and it's a technique that I was scared of when I did this, but it's a technique that I don't mind using right now, because I used that for several parts of my Northcote's O-Gauge layout, which will be ready for the Gauge O Guild virtual exhibition in February. Weeds, 16mm scale weeds. If you'd have told me 10 years ago that I would be making weeds in 16mm scale, I wouldn't have believed you. But there you go. I mean, there are lots of weeds on Bontofts, and this was another one of those things that you test yourself, you find out you can do them, and it becomes a lot of fun. All this is some electrical wire unwound like you would do with a model tree. If you're modeling trees in like HO scale, 00 scale, or even O scale, you would use the old wire method. You would unwind wire to twist it to the branches. And no, this is the same. It's a thinner gauge wire, and you just unwind it and twist it into the shape and form of the weeds. So yeah, just really quite amazed that this is one of these things that I could do. But it was so much fun. I hope you enjoyed that little trawl through my modeling history there. I'm not the greatest, most skilled modeler in the world, but I have a lot of fun doing what I do, and I come up with some results that I'm very happy with. And I think that's something we can all take from the hobby. You know, it's like I always say, build that model, lay that track, run that train, but above all, have fun. So with that, I am going to wish you whatever you wish yourselves at this time of year. And so I will see you in the new year, and we'll have an update on the mine layout and some other plans for the year. So all the best, and I'll see you in 2025.